The next exercise that we are doing is called a one leg deadlift. We are going to show you the easier version of the movement first, and then the difficult version, which involves a lot of core, feet and your hip involvement to keep you balanced. So for this, you're going to stand beside any object that which you can take hold of, and then you're going to shift all the weight on one feet and then lift the other feet off the floor. When you do this, you want to lean forward and push the other feet back as far back and up as possible, so that your knees of the other straight feet, the working leg, the one that is on the floor, you want to make sure that your knees is only slightly bent and not too bent, because once it's too bent, your quads are going to take over the work and your hamstrings are not going to take the load and get a good stretch. When you hold this position, make sure that your hamstring is getting enough stretch, and then when you want to come up, you want to do a hip thrust by squeezing a hip forward. When you come into this standing back position again, you do not want to touch your toes or your feet on the floor. You repeat this again from the very position you started, but with your feet in the air. You lean forward, you push your hip back and up, you stretch your hamstrings, you let it stretch for a second or two, and then when you come up, you do a hip thrust. So this gives you a very good stretch in your hamstrings, and you have to do the same thing for both the legs. Now we are going to try the unassisted version, where you're not going to take hold of anything. So now, as we can see, we are going to try the unassisted version. You're going to stand on one foot and the other feet is going to stay in the air, and then you're going to lean forward and let your hamstrings and your hip stretch for the working leg, and then come back with a hip thrust. You start this again. Keep your foot balanced by pulling your toes in, squeezing your hips, squeezing your thighs. Let your hamstrings stretch for the working leg, and then do a hip thrust to come up. So this might cause a little problem if you do not have great balance or foot awareness or hip awareness. So you want to do an assisted version where you're actually working the muscles equally well. It's just that your balance segment is being taken care of, and you're not leaking energy by working on the balance segment. However, if you want to do the unassisted version, you're most welcome, because that is how you actually need to do the one leg deadlifts. We do this again once more to give you a better idea. So you pull one foot up, lean forward, the working leg knees is only slightly bent, not too bent, and then your hamstrings are getting a good stretch, and then when you want to come up, you squeeze your hip and your hamstrings to come up. So that was the one leg deadlift for you.